You know, some people just disappear when life gets difficult. Not forever, just long enough for everyone to kind of wonder where they went. It's something we've all seen, right? Or maybe you've even done it yourself. It's this strange thing where the people who need comfort the absolute most somehow become the hardest to reach.
They stop replying, they avoid calls, they'll look at a message from a friend who deeply cares about them, and they just tell themselves, I'll answer that later. But somehow, later turns into days.
They disappear. They withdraw from conversations completely. They get incredibly distant from the very people they actually felt the absolute closest to. And if you're on the outside looking in, this behavior is just confusing.
Which raises this strange, really deeply human question. Why would a person push away the very thing they need most? I mean, if someone is hurting, shouldn't they want support? If you're feeling lonely, wouldn't you immediately go looking for connection? Why do we build walls when what we are literally desperate for is a bridge?
Well, the answer lies in this quiet contradiction that so many of us carry around inside. On one hand, you're craving connection. We're fundamentally wired for belonging. We want to feel understood, we want support, we want to know someone's going to stay when things get rough. But at the exact same time, there's an intense fear of that exact same connection.
Section 1. The cost of vulnerability and what connection requires.
See, connection doesn't come for free. To actually let someone in means giving them access to the parts of ourselves that feel unfinished, maybe uncertain, ashamed, or wounded. It means opening up the very things we spend most of our energy trying to hide. We risk misunderstanding, we risk disappointment, and of course, we risk rejection. And for some people, those risks don't just feel a little uncomfortable, they feel completely overwhelming, especially if you're already carrying around past emotional pain.
So let's look at where that fear actually comes from. Feeling dismissed as a child might have taught someone to just keep their feelings hidden. Experiencing abandonment? That might teach you to just expect people to leave anyway. Being criticized for showing emotion teaches a person to suffer in silence. Basically, our past experiences end up writing the scripts for our present fears.
And over time, emotional self-protection just becomes a habit. People don't retreat because it works perfectly or because it makes them happy. They do it because it's familiar. And for the human brain, familiarity usually feels a lot safer than the terrifying uncertainty of actually letting someone in. So when life gets overwhelming, they convince themselves they just need space.
But here is the thing. Sometimes they don't do it because they don't care. Sometimes they do it because caring feels overwhelming. This is so absolutely crucial to understand. When people pull away, it is not always because they don't care. It's not because they stop loving the people around them. They do it because emotional pain can make vulnerability feel flat out impossible. It's the exhaustion of caring too much, not too little. Think about it. How many times have you convinced yourself you are protecting others when you are actually just protecting yourself?
Section 2. The fear of being a burden and carrying the weight privately.
There's another massive reason people pull away when they're struggling. A lot of us carry this unspoken, deeply painful belief that our pain is just too much for other people, that our sadness is inconvenient, that our anxiety is exhausting. We get terrified that our struggles will eventually just drive everyone away. So instead of reaching out, we get quieter. People tell themselves they're going to deal with it alone. They carry the weight totally privately. But beneath all that silence, there is often this quiet, aching hope that someone will notice the struggle without them ever having to ask for help. I mean, how many people thought you needed space when what you really needed was understanding?
Is this deeply human irony? Wanting support, but struggling to receive it. Wanting connection, but being terrified of what it might cost. Wanting someone to stay while actively preparing for them to leave. It's just a heavy, exhausting way to live, being constantly torn between two entirely opposing needs.
Section 3. The cycle of isolation, and what happens when the distance grows. The painful truth here is that isolation rarely actually solves the original problem. When we hide away, the thoughts in our heads just get louder, the loneliness gets heavier, and that distance between us and the people who care about us, it just keeps expanding. The longer someone stays hidden, the harder it becomes to reach back out. Days turn into weeks. Messages you avoided yesterday suddenly feel completely impossible to answer today. Even just simple, everyday conversations start feeling incredibly overwhelming to manage. How many conversations never happened simply because both people were waiting for the other to reach out first?
Pushing people away is rarely a sign of indifference. It's fear. It's exhaustion. It's shame. And honestly, on a biological level, it is simply nervous system protection.
It's your nervous system doing its absolute best to protect itself, using strategies it learned a long time ago just to survive overwhelming emotions.
Section 4. Safe to be seen and surviving difficult emotions.
If you recognize yourself, or maybe someone you love, in this pattern, I want to offer you a comforting realization. The people who withdraw aren't trying to leave others behind. They are just trying to survive emotions they don't quite know how to carry yet. And healing isn't about forcing yourself to become perfectly open overnight. Maybe healing begins by gently reframing these core beliefs. Needing people does not make you weak. Asking for support is not burdening others. Vulnerability is not failure. And being seen does not automatically equal rejection. Actually, maybe healing is learning that needing people was never the problem in the first place. Maybe the real challenge is simply believing that someone can see your struggles and stay anyway.
The people who genuinely care about you would often rather sit beside you in your pain than watch you disappear into it alone.